Chapter 2993. Reaching the top of the tower. There were 99 floors in the tower. There were rewards for every floor that was cleared. As a disciple of the Ink Han clan, the Tower of Trials wasn't a place that anyone could enter. Only sorcerers could enter. Otherwise, they would be stopped by the array formation. The trial of the Tower of Trials was simple. The Ink Han clan belonged to the sorcerer lineage, and they were more proficient in the heaven and earth array formation. Their disciples and clansmen also focused on the cultivation of array formation. Only by deciphering the array formation could one obtain the corresponding rewards. However, there was another requirement to enter the Tower of Trials. One's age couldn't exceed 5 million years old. This was a huge threshold. One had to be a sorcerer lineage, and one had to be younger than 5 million years old. At 5 million years old, those who could reach the First Order God Emperor realm in array formation were already considered to be the elites of the clan. This was the reason why the Tower of Trials only reached the 55th floor billions of years ago. Even so, a large number of sorcerers entered the Tower of Trials. Even if they couldn't obtain any treasures, they could still train here. Dragon King, this is our first target. Enlai stared at the Tower of Trials in front of him, his eyes flickering. That's right. This is the place. The entire Tower of Trials is filled with array formations. All kinds of restrictions have no effect on you. Enter and take away the treasures inside, Wang Xian said with a smile. No problem. Enlai nodded confidently. They moved and immediately flew towards the direction of Tongtian Tower. 10 minutes later, they arrived at the bottom of the Tower of Trials. In front of the huge Tower of Trials, they felt incomparably small. It's so vast. Is this the power of a universe supremacy? Orokai couldn't help but exclaim. A universe supremacy can't build such a vast Tower of Trials. This place of trials was built by the entire Ink Han clan. There might be hundreds of supremacies participating in it. Tianjin lifted his head and said. The entrance is in front. Enlai, we'll wait for you here. Wang Xian looked at Enlai and said. Yes, Dragon King. Enlai nodded his head. He moved and flew forward. Let's wait here for the good news. Wang Xian chuckled and waited quietly at the bottom of the platform. This Tongtian Tower is too difficult. Emperor God Hongtian has already announced the method to break the formation of the first 55 floors, but I can only reach the 43rd floor. I really don't know how Emperor God Hongtian managed to reach the 55th floor. How can you be compared to Emperor God Hongtian? Back then, God Emperor Hongtian was a prodigy whose name shook an entire region. He broke through to the Second Order God Emperor realm at the age of 5 million, and has already reached the peak of the God Emperor realm. I wonder why the Ink Han clan built such a monstrous Tongtian Tower in the first place. According to historical records, even the highest disciple of the Ink Han clan could only reach the 70th level. Haha, the Ink Han clan is a bunch of lunatics. There are records that say that if a member of the Ink Han clan can reach the top of Skysplit Tower, they will immediately become the young patriarch. There were a lot of people around Tongtian Tower, and all of them were young faces. Sounds of discussion could be heard. Wang Xian and the rest listened quietly at the side. Now that they had just arrived, they were not very familiar with the nearby forces. Even if Wang Xian and Orokai knew something about it, it was from the memories of the four-armed and three-eyed tribes. Rumble, rumble, rumble. However, at this moment, a loud rumble was heard, and the entire Tongtian Tower rippled with energy. There was light coming from above. What? Someone has reached the 56th level of the Tongtian Tower. SSS, the 56th level of the Tongtian Tower is lit up. Someone actually broke Emperor God Hongtian's record. The sudden change made many people lift their heads and look at the sky above Tongtian Tower in shock. At the 56th level, a powerful light shot out. This light meant that someone had entered. Ever since Emperor God Hongtian broke through to the 55th level, it had been hundreds of millions of years since anyone had made it to the next level. However, it happened today. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Just as the surrounding people and even the people on this land were shocked, the entire Tongtian Tower shook again. Dazzling light shot out from the 57th level. This is impossible. When the surrounding people saw the 57th level lit up, their faces changed drastically. How is this possible? He just broke through to the 56th level, and now the 57th level is lit up? Is there something wrong with the Tongtian Tower? It's absolutely impossible to climb up 2 levels in such a short period of time, the surrounding young men shouted in disbelief. They had entered the Tongtian Tower before and knew how difficult it was to climb to the next level. Someone had taken decades to climb to the next level. How strong must one be to make breakthroughs in such a short period of time? Rumble, rumble, rumble. But just when everyone was still in disbelief, the Tongtian Tower shook again. The 58th level lit up. At this moment, everyone was dumbfounded. Rumble, 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 rumble. Not long after, the 59th level lit up. The 60th level lit up. Everyone in the surrounding area went crazy. Is there something wrong with the Tongtian Tower? There must be something wrong with the Tongtian Tower. Hurry, let's go in and take a look. Some of the surrounding youths roared in shock. They immediately flew into the Tongtian Tower. Rumble, rumble, rumble. At the same time, all the experts within the radius of a few hundred light years looked towards the Tongtian Tower. Their eyes were filled with astonishment. One by one, the experts rushed over and stared at the Tongtian Tower in astonishment. The rumble of the Tongtian Tower was incessant and the layers of space radiated with dazzling light. Even if it was a few 100 million kilometers away, it could be seen clearly. One by one, the experts flew over and stared ahead in astonishment. It's the 85th level. Is there something wrong with the Tongtian Tower? Layers of light radiated. No one would believe that someone was breaking the array inside. No one could break the array at such a speed. Wang, an old man exuding a powerful aura, moved and flew towards the entrance of the Tongtian Tower. It's Emperor God Hongtian. Emperor God Hongtian is here too. Some young men were in awe when they saw that figure. Emperor God Hongtian stared at the entrance of the Tongtian Tower. A force of array appeared in front of him and blocked his way. The array of the Tongtian Tower is still in operation. What happened up there? Emperor God Hongtian stared at the sky with a complicated expression when he saw himself being blocked by the array. The layers of the Tongtian Tower continued to light up, attracting the attention of countless people. Wang Xian stood below and swept his gaze across the surroundings. Immediately, he revealed a surprised look. He did not expect that there would be such a huge commotion, nor did he expect that there would be so many experts coming. Chapter 2994, Dragon King. There are many experts around us. Around Skysplit Tower, Heavenly Array's eyes swept over the surroundings. He looked at the detection compass in his hand and whispered, "MM." Wang Xian nodded and scanned the surroundings with his yin-yang 5 elements dragon eyes. There were hundreds of 5th-order God Emperors and above within a few hundred light-years. Gosh, this is the edge of the center of the universe. If it's the chaotic continent, wouldn't the God Emperors be worse than dogs? Orokai said in shock. Not to that extent. Wang Xian smiled as he stared at the Tongtian Tower in front of him. More and more experts gathered in the surroundings. All of them stared at the scene in shock. However, no matter what method they used, they couldn't get into the Tongtian Tower. Wang, hong long long long. At this moment, another rumble was heard. This time, it was even louder. In the next moment, the entire Tongtian Tower radiated with dazzling divine light as though it was celebrating a coronation. This, level 99. He reached the top. He reached the top. What's going on? Is there something wrong with the Tongtian Tower, or did someone really reach the top? Impossible. It's impossible for anyone to reach the top. Even the supreme talents of the universe would find it hard to reach the top. Incredulous voices came from the surroundings as everyone stared blankly at the Tongtian Tower that was radiating with dazzling divine light. Wang, he, Dragon King. Enlai appeared beside Wang Xian and shouted excitedly at a place where none of the experts were paying attention. How's the reward? Enlai. Upon hearing Enlai's voice, Wang Xian and the rest asked excitedly. Dragon King, let's talk in the Tongtian Tower, Enlai said as he shrouded Wang Xian and the rest. In the next moment, they appeared in a huge cultivation room. From the cultivation room, they could overlook the surrounding starry sky. They could clearly see the god emperors looking over in shock. This was the 99th level of the Tongtian Tower. The 99th level of the Tongtian Tower. Wang Xian and the rest looked around with excitement in their eyes. He, Dragon King, these are all the rewards I got from the Tongtian Tower. The Tongtian Tower places all the rewards in the center. Enlai pointed to the center and said, "Huh." Wang Xian and the rest looked over and walked over immediately. Dragon King, there aren't many resources, but there are dozens of high-grade elixir pills. The rest are all this kind of stuff. Enlai walked over and pointed at the center of the table carved from divine stone. On the table, there were more than 20 jade bottles filled with elixirs. At the side, there was a humanoid sculpture that emitted a mysterious luster. Apart from these, there were also more than 10 artifacts and compasses used by wizards. There weren't many things. However, a few of the jade bottles contained pills of very high grades. This is the Legacy Clan Idol. The Legacy Clan Idol. When Tianjin saw the human-shaped statues, his face lit up with excitement. Oh! Inherited clan statue? Wang Xian looked at the human-shaped statue with sparkling eyes. The inherited clan idol was not an ordinary item. Every powerful race relied on 3 things to survive. The first was their bloodline, the second was their cultivation, and the third was their secret techniques. As long as these were present, the species would not decline. Just like the divine dragon race, the powerful bloodline, the cultivation method of the divine dragon transformation, and the offensive secret techniques of the divine dragon transformation. This was the core of the divine dragon race. As long as these were present, the divine dragon race would not decline. In fact, the moment a purebred divine dragon was born, the cultivation method of the divine dragon transformation would be engraved in its mind. The soul would be passed down from generation to generation and would never perish. However, such a soul could only be passed down from generation to generation. Only the pinnacle races in the universe could do this. Ordinary elementary races in the universe would engrave the secret techniques in the Legacy Clan Idol. Such Legacy Clan Idols could only be engraved by experts at the supremacy level. Moreover, it would consume a lot of energy. However, such Legacy Clan Idols had a very powerful ability. It could allow the tribesmen to quickly comprehend the secret techniques engraved within. Every Legacy Clan Idol was extremely precious. This was because it stored the foundation of a race and the foundation of combat. The stronger the race, the more Legacy Clan Idols there would be. Of course, the pinnacle races in the universe were excluded. For example, Wang Xian had inherited the Divine Dragon legacy. His soul would have some combat instincts of the Divine Dragon and could comprehend the secret techniques of the Divine Dragon. This was also the terrifying thing about the pinnacle races in the universe. The Ink-Han family is an elementary race in the universe. Their Legacy Clan Idols have no imprints and can be comprehended directly, Wang Xian said to Sky Formation. The Legacy Clan Idols also had different levels. The Legacy Clan Idols of powerful races would have a soul imprint that could only be comprehended by members of the same race. It would be useless to people from other races. These Legacy Clan Idols will be of great benefit to me, Sky Formation said passionately. Due to special circumstances, Sky Formation had evolved into a witch dragon. A witch dragon could fight beyond its level. However, the conditions to do so were related to the witchcraft that it had mastered. If it wasn't for the dragon field in the Dragon Palace, Sky Formation's evolution into a divine dragon, and the great increase in his comprehension, as well as the consumption of the eternal pregnancy fruit that allowed him to create his own witchcraft arrays, it would have been difficult for him to fight 2 levels higher. Even so, the witchcraft arrays that he created could not keep up with the recent increase in his speed of improvement. The Legacy Clan Idols of the Ink-Han family would be of great use to him. TSK, be it the Legacy Clan Idols or these sorcerer equipment, they will be of great use to you, Orokai said enviously. Keep these Legacy Clan Idols and sorcerer equipment for yourself. Wang Xian smiled at Sky Formation as he opened the jade bottles. The bottles of elixirs were the rewards the Ink Hand family gave to the tribesmen who ascended the heaven-connecting tower. Elixirs corresponding to their cultivation would be given according to the number of floors they ascended. The elixirs in the 99th floor were 8th Order God Emperor Realm Divine Pills. The rest ranged from 2nd Order God Emperor Realm to 7th Order God Emperor Realm. Dragon King, these elixirs should be able to help you break through, right? Enlai asked Wang Xian. More than enough. Wang Xian's eyes shone with excitement. He had made the right decision to come here. Now that he was in the 9th Order God King realm, he was only halfway to breaking through. This time, he would be breaking through to a whole new realm. From the 9th Order God King realm to the 1st Order God Emperor realm. Fighting 6 ranks higher than him, he would possess the combat strength of a 7th Order God Emperor. Coupled with the unparalleled sacred wings, he would be able to kill a 7th Order God Emperor in an instant. He might not be able to annihilate the 4-armed tribe and the 3-eyed tribe, but he would be able to fight against them. Most importantly, they had only explored a corner of the Ink Hand family's ruins. What realm would he be able to reach after exploring the entire ruins? How strong could the Dragon Palace be? Chapter 2995. What's going on in the Heaven-Reaching Tower? Are there any signs of changes in the Heaven-Reaching Tower? Countless experts gathered around the Heaven-Reaching Tower at the center of the ruins of the Ink Hand dynasty. One by one, the experts frowned and their expressions changed. From the outside, they could not see what was happening inside the Heaven-Reaching Tower. As the Heaven-Reaching Tower was built by the Ink Hand dynasty, the entire Heaven-Reaching Tower would collapse if one were to force their way in. No one would do something that would harm others without benefiting themselves. Dragon King, you should improve your strength first. We will guard this place for you. At the 99th level of the Heaven-Reaching Tower, Orokai and the rest said to Wang Xian. Alright, I'll break through to my current realm first. Wang Xian nodded and revealed a smile. He waved his arm, opened all the jade bottles, and poured the elixir pills into his mouth. A large number of elixir pills were devoured and converted into dragon energy. 8 types of light shot out from Wang Xian's body. The 5 elements' great grindstone spun on its own and circled above his head. The yin-yang dragon plate was like an ink painting, spinning around him. Waves of majestic dragon might radiated to the surroundings. Orokai and the rest stood guard by the side quietly. Tianzhan was holding on to the Inheritance Tribe portrait and learning the spells and sorcery within. Ding! Congratulations to the host for leveling up and breaking through to the Emperor God realm. Ding! The host has broken through to the Emperor God realm and comprehended the nomological superpower, Dragon Eyes Locking. Boom! The Dragon King, who was standing there with his eyes closed, swallowed a large number of elixir pills. The system's voice rang in his ears. Powerful auras radiated from his body. Dragon roars came from his body as 8 rays of light shot out to the surroundings. He opened his eyes slowly. A world of yin-yang, 5 elements, and hurricane appeared in his dragon eyes. It was as though his eyes could seal off the entire world. It was frightening. What a powerful aura. The Dragon King has improved tremendously this time. At the side, Orokai and the others immediately looked over, and their faces were filled with awe. Phew. Wang Xian took a deep breath and began to retract his aura. Name, Wang Xian. Race, Yin-Yang 5 elements Divine Dragon, one with the dragon. Rank, First Order Void God Emperor, Divine Dragon Transformation 8th Transformation. Origin, 33212396050000000000 Magic. Dominate the aquatic creatures, dominate any aquatic creatures lower than your own level, devour living things to extract the source, control of the 5 elements cultivation technique, Divine Dragon Transformation Divine Powers, Soul Capture, Spirit Attachment Nomological Divine. Ability, Dragon Eyes Lock on Desolation Dharma Form, 5 elements Grindstone, Dragon Country in the Palm, Dragon Head Descending, 10,000-mile Dragon Body, Yin-Yang Polarity, Yin-Yang 5 Elemental Bowl, Divine Dragon Tail Whip. Law of Mastery, Metal, Wood, Water, Fire, Earth, Light, Dark Wind Divine Kingdom, Dragon Palace Owned Dragon Palace, Level 9 Dragon Palace Members, 10325450. Looking at the information in his mind, he smiled. "I've finally broken through to Emperor God realm," Wang Xian murmured as he rubbed his eyes. The nomological divine ability was the strongest offensive method of a God-Emperor expert. Condensing the laws into a divine ability possessed unfathomable power. Wang Xian's breakthrough this time was related to the superpower of the Dragon Eyes. Dragon Eyes lock 8 desolations. After executing it, 8 illusory divine dragons would fly out from the Dragon Eyes. They were the yin-yang 5 elements divine dragon and the wind divine dragon. The 8 divine dragons sealed a space and could attack. In this space, the enemy could not escape directly. Without breaking through the space, they could not return to their own god kingdom. It was similar to the array laid out by Tian Zhen, but more terrifying. Peak 7th Order God Emperor realm combat power. Wang Xian's body trembled slightly as a majestic force spread out. "Congratulations on your breakthrough, Dragon King," Roving Demon, Roving Crab, and Enlai congratulated. Tian Zhen also opened his eyes and congratulated. "If there's nothing here, let's go somewhere else," Wang Xian said with a smile. "Yes, Dragon King. Dragon King, wait here for a moment." Enlai nodded and his figure instantly disappeared. In less than 10 seconds, he returned. "Dragon King, let's go." In the next moment, they appeared in the void more than 200 million kilometers away from the heaven-reaching tower. Enlai kept the sacrificial altar in the void and looked in the direction of the heaven-reaching tower with surprise. "So many people. It seems like there was a huge commotion just now," he said in surprise. "It's been a long time since anyone could reach the next level in the heaven-reaching tower. You ascended to the top directly, which naturally caused a huge commotion," Tian Zhen said with a smile. "TSK, TSK, TSK. Enlai looked over with a smug smile on his face. "Let's go. Our next target is those planet," Wang Xian said with a smile. A special existence like Enlai was rare in the entire universe. "Hee, Dragon King, watch my performance next. I'll scout the way for you guys first," Enlai said excitedly. He moved and disappeared in an instant. Wang Xian and the rest flew in the direction of the ruins. Looking at the huge stars that were connected together, they also felt extremely shocked. These planets were covered with chaotic energy. Some places were safe, while others were dangerous. Some planets had already found a way to enter, while others were completely sealed off. The true core was located in the center of these planets. It was an incomparably huge continent, with 18 continents forming a huge space. 999 stars guarded the center. However, after billions of years of exploration, there was a lot of information about the ruins of the Han dynasty. For example, one of the planets was used to plant sacred trees and sacred herbs. There was also a planet used to rear desolate beasts as mounts. There was also a planet with a special river that had a special ability. These 3 planets were very famous in the ruins of the Han dynasty. No one could enter them yet. Some people said that if one could enter, he would definitely get a lot of treasures. In particular, the planet used by the Han dynasty to plant sacred trees and sacred herbs would definitely have a lot of resources. After exploring the surrounding planets, Wang Xian and the rest were ready to enter the center. Three-eyed clan leader, four-armed clan leader. Just as Wang Xian and the rest were exploring the ruins of the Han dynasty, 2 huge forces met at the void that Wang Xian came out from not long ago. Each force had about 5 million people. Some of them were riding on clouds, some were riding on powerful wild beasts, and some were stepping on sacred weapons. They were floating in the void, and each of them possessed great superpower. It was especially so for the leader of the three-eyed clan, who was riding on a rhinoceros-like wild beast with 1 eye and 1 horn. The leader of the four-armed clan was sitting on a treasure lotus. The leaders of the 2 clans had officially met. They were here for the dazzling divine dragon in the starry sky, and for the powerful opportunities. The error-free chapters of the Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System will continue to be updated on the mobile game bar. There will be no advertisements on the website. Please collect and recommend the mobile game bar. Please collect if you like the Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System. Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System. Chapter 2996, Four-Armed Tribe. Don't you know where the entrance is? The leaders of the two major forces in the center of the universe faced each other. The leader of the three-eyed tribe stared at the leader of the four-armed tribe with a pitch-black eye in between his eyebrows. We were too careless. It seems like you were too careless to join us. The leader of the four-armed tribe sat cross-legged on the golden lotus and said plainly, "It's not just the entrance. I saw thousands of emperor gods in the dragon palace. The rest of the members are also top-notch god kings." The black eye between the three-eyed tribe's leader's brows blinked as it replied, "Join forces." The leader of the four-armed tribe said, "Join forces and find the entrance first." That dragon palace might not only have obtained the inheritance of the divine dragon, but also the inheritance of the Ink-Han tribe. The leader of the three-eyed tribe looked in the direction of the ruins of the Ink-Han tribe with a deep gaze. It's highly possible that without the formation of the Ink-Han tribe, we wouldn't have been completely annihilated. The leader of the four-armed tribe nodded. "Find the entrance and we will split all the opportunities equally. Any objections?" The leader of the three-eyed tribe asked. "Sure." The leader of the four-armed tribe nodded with a smile. "Start searching." The leaders of the two tribes looked at the millions of subordinates behind them and ordered immediately. "Yes." The experts of the two tribes answered and quickly began to search the surroundings. As the two tribes that had stood strong for billions of years, they could establish themselves in the center of the universe not because of recklessness, but because they were steady. They developed steadily. All the powerful tribes in the universe had a long history. "Dragon King, we have entered the planet where the divine tree and divine grass were once planted." Wang Xian and the rest had no idea that the two tribes were looking for the entrance to the resplendent starry sky. But even if they knew, they wouldn't care. At this moment, Enlai came to Wang Xian and the rest in the ruins of the Ink-Han tribe and said excitedly, "Oh, let's go. Bring us there." Wang Xian raised his eyebrows and said immediately with excitement in his eyes, "Yes, Dragon King." Enlai nodded and they disappeared in the next moment. This is such intense vitality. The scenery in front of them changed, and when they reappeared, they were on a planet full of vitality and greenery. Wang Xian and the rest took a deep breath and could feel a surge of vitality entering their bodies. Although it was much weaker than the life force in the Dragon Palace, it was still high enough. As expected of a primary race in the universe, Tianjin murmured, "Let's go, let's see if there are any divine trees, divine grasses, or other resources here." Wang Xian's eyes were burning with passion. With a shift of his body, he flew 10,000 meters into the sky. Buzz. Closing his eyes, he relied on the progenitor tree's ability to sense where the life force was denser. "Follow me." Wang Xian led them and flew towards a direction immediately. This planet was similar to an ordinary planet. Given their speed, they would be able to make one round around it in 2 hours. The entire planet was covered in all kinds of plants, and it was full of vitality. Inside, one could vaguely sense waves of vitality being guided into the planet from the void outside. The spiritual energy in the resplendent starry sky isn't as strong as the center of the universe because of this formation. The formation of the Ink-Han family is really powerful, gathering at least millions of light-years worth of spiritual energy. Tianjin said in shock as he sensed the power of the formation around him. Something's not right. Logically speaking, if no one has entered this place for billions of years, the vitality here should be even denser, and there should be more divine trees and divine grasses here. After flying for a few minutes, Wang Xian vaguely felt something was amiss. Sensing that the vitality ahead was denser, he increased his speed. This is. When Wang Xian and the rest were about to reach that place, his eyes narrowed slightly. "Dragon King, there are buildings here, and there are signs of human activity." Tianjin's expression changed as he spoke in a deep voice. "Someone has entered this planet." Wang Xian stopped in his tracks, and his eyes flickered as he looked down. According to his memory, there were 9,999 stars in the Ink-Han family, and more than 8,000 of them had been deciphered and entered by others. The planet they were on now was one that no one had deciphered, and no one had entered. Now, there were millions of people looking for ways to enter this planet every day. However, from the looks of it, someone had already entered. Who is it? All of a sudden, a cold voice sounded. Following which, the entire space suddenly changed, and ripples appeared in the void. Below, a dozen middle-aged and old men flew out from a room below. "Oh no, Dragon King, the space here has been sealed. There's a 7th Order God Emperor Realm Array Master among them." Tianjin sensed the changes in the surroundings, and his expression changed slightly. He was very familiar with this type of array. However, at this moment, the array that covered the entire space had enveloped them completely. Someone has actually entered the Divine Garden Star. Kill him. The dozen middle-aged and old men who flew out had their faces darkened when they saw the gaze sweeping across them. Swish, swish, swish. The old man in the middle waved his arm, and a dazzling brush appeared in his hand. He drew it towards Wang Xian and the rest. A huge net appeared out of thin air, and it covered Wang Xian and the rest. Die. The dozen middle-aged and old men around him also waved their arms, and a brush appeared in their hands. Metallic swords filled with killing intent struck towards Wang Xian and the rest. There was no mercy. Courting death. Wang Xian sensed their killing intent and attacks, and his expression changed slightly. Swish. The unbeginning sacred wings appeared behind him, and he instantly accelerated to the limit. Bam! His right arm turned into a dragon claw, and he tore apart the lightning net formed by the array. Swish. In the next moment, Wang Xian pushed his speed to the limit, and appeared in front of the old man. What? So fast? The old man's expression changed drastically, and his heart sank when he saw Wang Xian's dragon claw coming towards him. Buzz buzz. His body released an incomparably powerful aura, and his body began to distort. In an instant, he appeared behind Wang Xian, and completely evaded his attack. Wang Xian raised his eyebrows slightly, and his dragon eyes swept across. Dragon eyes lock on 8 desolates. He focused his gaze, and 8 rays of light shot out from his eyes. 8 divine dragons flew out directly. The nomological divine dragons executed the dragon eyes lock on 8 desolates. This was also the first time Wang Xian executed it. The 8 illusory divine dragons appeared, and the entire space changed drastically. The ripples that covered the entire space began to collapse. Within the space, chains appeared out of thin air around the 7th rank God Emperor Sorcerer. Hualala. The chains attacked him. Not good. Chapter 2997. The occupied deity's garden star. Down below your courting death. Chains covered the entire space. Around the old man, chains that were glowing in various colors wrapped around him. Wang Xian stared at him with murderous intent. He used his killer move and sealed the surrounding space without saying a word. Clearly, he wanted to keep them here. Wang Xian didn't have to care about the background of such a person. My master won't let you off if you dare to kill me. The chains attacked the old man. The old man waved the brush in his hand and sharp swords slashed at the chains. He shouted in fear when he sensed Wang Xian's terrifying speed. Wang Xian snorted coldly. He had already arrived in front of the old man. His arms turned into dragon claws and grabbed at the old man. No. Sensing the threat from Wang Xian, the old man panicked and roared. As a 7th Order God Emperor Sorcerer, he had already sensed Wang Xian and the rest when they arrived. Moreover, Huang Xiaolong could vaguely sense their strength. The young man who attacked him was most likely a 7th Order God Emperor realm expert. However, he wasn't afraid. Given his strength and the sorcery he had mastered, he could definitely fight those who were stronger than him. However, he didn't expect the other party to have such terrifying speed and such a bizarre nomological superpower. Bam! Before he could react, he sensed a powerful force landing on him. Wang! A destructive force landed on him and entered his body. Fart! The old man spat out a large amount of blood. Bam! Wang Xian swung his dragon claws again and landed on the old man's head. The old man was severely injured. Sorcerers who specialized in array formations were most afraid of enemies with terrifying speed like Wang Xian. Wang Xian's speed was the bane of the sorcerers. Stop! Let go of our senior brothers. The other dozen middle-aged and old men were shocked as they bellowed in a threatening manner. Bam 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 bam! Wang Xian flapped his unparalleled saint wings and attacked them instantly. The dragon claws penetrated their bodies. Cough, cough, cough. The dozen of them widened their eyes in disbelief. Their vitality was fading rapidly. You actually killed my junior brothers. My master won't let you off. He won't let you off. The eyes of the old man who was caught by Wang Xian shrunk as he roared in horror. Soul assimilation. Wang Xian's gaze was cold as the dragon claw grabbed his head. He used soul capture. No, no, no. The old man's eyes widened in shock, and his gaze began to slacken. Dragon King. At this time, Tianzhen and the others flew over with ugly expressions. The battle just now only lasted for a split second. From start to finish, it didn't take more than 20 seconds. The sudden appearance of the dozen or so people who attacked them caused the faces of Tianzhen and the others to turn extremely ugly. Fortunately, the Dragon King had already broken through. Otherwise, they could only escape with their tails between their legs. Wang Xian closed his eyes and absorbed the information in the mind of the old man. Emperor Hongtian? Not long after, he opened his eyes and frowned slightly. Dragon King, what's wrong? Tianzhen and the rest immediately asked when they heard the name. They had heard of this name not long ago. 100 million years ago, the master of this group of people, an expert called Emperor God Hongtian, entered this place and obtained all the divine grass and divine wood in this place. Moreover, he saw that this place was full of vitality and used this place as his own herb garden to grow divine grass and divine wood. Now, Emperor Hongtian possesses the strength of a peak god emperor and is a powerful sorcerer. Wang Xian said with a solemn tone. Someone actually beat us to it. Hearing Wang Xian's words, Tianzhen and the rest did not look too good. Let's go. Let's leave this place immediately. Emperor Hongtian should have sensed his disciple's death by now. Wang Xian said as he looked at Enlai. Dragon King, give me 10 seconds. Enlai nodded his head and disappeared. Wang Xian looked around and waved his arm, collecting all the corpses. There are some decent divine trees and divine plants here. Let's take them away. Wang Xian flew forward according to his memory. Tianzhen and the rest immediately followed beside him. There are some 8th order God Emperor and 9th order God Emperor herbs and divine trees. This is indeed the herb garden of a peak God Emperor expert. Wang Xian and the rest arrived at the herb garden and kept it into the mother nest with a wave of his arm. According to his memory, Emperor Hongtian had 10 such herb gardens on this planet. It was a pity that he did not dare to stay here any longer. They could only flee if they encountered a peak god emperor expert. Dragon King, I'll erase all traces of this space, Tianzhen said as waves of energy swept through the surrounding void. Dragon King, at this time, Enlai returned. Wait for Tianzhen to erase the surrounding aura, Wang Xian said to Enlai. A powerful sorcerer could detect what was happening here with his array. Enlai nodded and waited at the side. Dragon King, it's done, Tianzhen said after a minute. Let's go, Wang Xian said as he disappeared instantly. The scenery changed and they arrived at another planet. It's not that easy to obtain resources. Let's go to the planet where the Mohan clan rears wild beasts. Wang Xian shook his head helplessly as he spoke. However, he was still very satisfied with the rewards he got from entering that planet. A rank 7 God Emperor corpse and a dozen rank 6 God Emperor corpses could increase the strength of the Dragon Palace significantly. Even those divine trees and divine grass were not enough to improve Wang Xian. Dragon King, wait here for a while. I'll head over first. Enlai looked at the map as he locked his eyes on the planet where the Mohan clan reared wild beasts. Just as Wang Xian and the rest continued to explore, Emperor Hongtian, who was hovering around the heaven-reaching tower, frowned. There was no one within a 1,000-kilometer radius around him. One could imagine his strength and status. In fact, in the entire Mohan clan relic, Emperor Hongtian's prestige and status were extremely high. He was the one who selflessly revealed the method to break the array within the 55th level of the heaven-reaching tower. In the Mohan clan relic, Emperor Hongtian had many supporters. Moreover, he had recruited many disciples and many of them had considerable prestige. Sensing that the divine tablet in his spatial ring had cracked, his figure gradually disappeared. In the next moment, Emperor Hongtian appeared in an herb garden on the divine garden star. Master. Around him, a dozen middle-aged and old men greeted him respectfully upon seeing his arrival. Emperor Hongtian nodded his head and flew towards a direction without any expression on his face. His speed was terrifying. Soon, he arrived at the space above the herb garden. Sensing that there was no sign of life here, and seeing the divine trees and divine grass being plucked, his eyes turned cold. Someone actually stepped into my territory. His gaze was cold as he scanned the surroundings with his slightly turbid eyes. Insignificant tricks. He spat out a few words coldly. Chapter 2998. Arrest Notice Ka. Within the divine garden star, Emperor God Hongtian waved his arm and a circular disc floated in the void. He stared coldly at the void. In the next moment, a blurry picture appeared in the void. Not bad. Emperor God Hongtian looked at the blurry image and frowned. His face was slightly embarrassed. He waved his arm and divine stones were inserted into it. As energy was injected, the picture became clearer. However, the clarity was obviously very low. He couldn't even tell if the picture was male or female. Wang. Acquired spiritual treasure, magnetic halo. Emperor God Hongtian took out his most precious treasure with an incomparably gloomy expression. Magnetic halo. Even universe supremacies might not have a treasure of this level. BZZT. A mirror-like halo appeared above his head. The picture in front of him became clearer. One by one, figures appeared in front of him. Emperor God Hongtian was filled with murderous intent. How dare you kill my disciple? Unforgivable. A terrifying murderous intent radiated from his body as he stared fixedly at the figures. With a wave of his arm, the image was preserved. Since this place has been discovered, I can bring forward my plan. It's a pity that I'm still far from my breakthrough. I can't enter the inner parts of the Inkhan family either. I can't wait any longer. I've used 100 million years to accumulate and develop. Now, I control thousands of planets in the Inkhan family. That's enough. Emperor God Hongtian murmured. He moved and floated in the middle of the planet. Gather all disciples. I have something important to announce. His voice reverberated across the entire divine garden star. Soon, hundreds of figures flew over. Master. All the middle-aged and old men greeted respectfully. Emperor God Hongtian didn't say a word. He just stood there and waited quietly. Master. More and more middle-aged and old men flew over. Each of them gave off a powerful aura. Soon, tens of thousands of middle-aged and old men gathered. Master, have you decided? 10 minutes later, 3 old men riding red-crowned cranes arrived. They had white hair and were filled with excitement and agitation. Big senior brother, second senior brother, third senior brother. Tens of thousands of middle-aged and old men greeted them respectfully. It's decided. Hierarch Hongtian nodded lightly. Great, this is great. The 3 of them were extremely excited as they stood at the very front. Master has summoned all of you here to make an announcement. Master will be establishing a race, a domain-level race. You will be the first batch of people. Emperor God Hongtian announced calmly when he saw all the disciples arriving. However, as soon as he finished speaking, everyone's bodies shuddered. Their faces were filled with excitement and shock. Their eyes were burning with passion. At the same time, waves of powerful energy shot into the sky. Among these 10,000 people, the weakest was at least a 4th-order God-Emperor realm. All of them were powerful shamans. The establishment of a faction, the establishment of a domain-type race, they knew what this meant in the universe. However, with their master's strength, it was enough for them to establish a powerful domain-level race. We'll start preparing the specifics in a month. Apart from this, there's one more thing. As Emperor God Hongtian spoke, he waved his arm and a picture appeared in front of everyone. This group of people barged into our territory and killed more than a dozen of your brothers. Put up a wanted order for them in the Inkhan tribe. The strongest among them is a 7th-order God-Emperor. Once you encounter them, kill them. Emperor God Hongtian said coldly. Yes. The disciples answered immediately. Follow me. There are some places in the Ink Han tribe ruins that you have not been to. In the future, this will be the place where our race will stand, Emperor God Hongtian said to all the disciples. He waved his arm and drew a teleportation array. Wang Xian and the rest, who were searching for treasures, did not know that they had been discovered by Emperor God Hongtian. This was their first time entering the center of the universe, and they did not know much about the means of experts. However, at this moment, Wang Xian received another piece of bad news. According to the records, the planet where the Mohan clan reared their desolate beasts as mounts has also been occupied. In the sky above the planet where the wild beasts were reared, Wang Xian frowned as he stared at the arrays below him. What's going on? Didn't they say that no one has set foot on these planets? It has obviously been occupied by someone, and they are rearing so many wild beasts. Bhe said as he stared at the planet below him with a burning gaze. Dragon King, why don't we slaughter some of the weaker wild beasts? There are tens of thousands of Emperor God Realm wild beasts here. He continued. We can't afford to offend a force that could occupy this place and rear so many powerful wild beasts. And it's highly possible that this place is also occupied by Emperor God Hongtian. Tianzhen shook his head. Wang Xian nodded in agreement. It was no exaggeration to say that the wild beasts reared on this planet were stronger than the Dragon Palace. This was because he could sense the aura of an 8th Order God Emperor Realm wild beast. Let's go, we have to leave this place immediately, Wang Xian said to Enlai with a solemn expression. Dragon King, shall we continue to explore the other planets? Enlai asked. Let's go to the central mainland directly. The core of the Ink Han tribe ruins is still the 18 mainlands in the center. Let's go to one of the mainlands, Tianzhen said after a moment of hesitation. All right. Enlai nodded. His figure flickered and immediately disappeared. He continued to explore as he passed through powerful and messy arrays. Dragon King, we found a mainland. It's a little far. Fortunately, I have the ability to teleport. If I were to fly, it would take at least a year. However, Enlai returned after an hour and reported to Wang Xian and the rest. Did you find it? Great. Wang Xian revealed an excited look. Within the territory of the Ink Han tribe ruins, an Emperor God Realm expert would need at least a few decades to fly from one side to the other without rest. The universe was vast and Enlai needed half an hour to teleport back and forth. One could imagine how far the distance was. However, the further the distance, it wasn't a bad thing for Wang Xian and the rest. This was because the further they were, the less people would be able to enter and the more treasures they could obtain. Let's go, Wang Xian said to him immediately. Yes, Dragon King. Enlai nodded his head. Tianzhen and the rest were also excited. Wang. In the next moment, their figures disappeared. A vast continent appeared in their line of sight. One of the 18 mainlands in the center of the Ink Han tribe ruins. Chapter 2999, Treasure Hunting Ancient, Vast, and Magnificent. When Wang Xian and the rest stood on the 18 continents of the Ink Han clan, they were shocked as they looked at the world around them. The entire continent was dozens or even thousands of times bigger than the Dragon Island where the Dragon Palace was located. There were all kinds of buildings on it. It was a pity that 99% of the buildings had decayed. Only a few buildings made of special materials were still standing. Wang Xian squinted his eyes and looked at the land. This is too big. It will take a long time to search the entire continent, Orokai exclaimed as he looked around. There isn't much spiritual energy fluctuation on this continent. I wonder if there are many treasures here. Tianzhen furrowed his brows slightly and said, Let's look around. After all, this is just a relic. Wang Xian shook his head and said. He moved his palm and an ant with long tentacles appeared on his palm. Treasure-seeking ant, a treasure that Wang Xian had obtained from the system in the boundless starfield. Treasure-seeking ant was a divine beast used by the insect race to search for various resources. It had no combat power but was very useful to the insect race. Wang Xian had been feeding it in the Dragon Palace and had not used it for a long time. It could be put to good use here. Let's go and search. Who knows, there might be unexpected gains. Wang Xian said with a smile as he placed the treasure-seeking ant on his shoulder. Search for treasures above the Emperor God level. He gave an order to the treasure-seeking ant. Squeak squeak. A unique sound came from the mouth of the treasure-seeking ant. Its 2 tentacles were glowing. Wang Xian made a move and immediately flew across the land. However, after flying for 10 minutes, the treasure-seeking ant did nothing. This made Wang Xian frown slightly as he continued to fly forward. After flying for more than 2 hours, the treasure-seeking ant's tentacles finally showed some movement. Found a rank 3 Emperor God weapon. The treasure-seeking ant transmitted the information to Wang Xian at a blessed place. This caused a smile to appear on his face. He immediately flew in the direction the treasure-seeking ant was pointing at. After entering a building filled with dust, Wang Xian waved his arm and the dust dissipated. His eyes fell on a piece of divine equipment hanging on the wall. It was a magic tool, a hanging pen. It was similar to the brushes used by the disciples of Emperor God Hong Tian, whom Wang Xian had killed not long ago. Dragon King, this is the array drawing pen, the exclusive magical artifact of the Ink and Han family. Tianjin walked over and held the formation drawing pen in his hand as he spoke with a smile. I only found a pen after searching for a few hours. There are so few treasures here, Orokai said with slight dissatisfaction. That's enough, a 3rd Order God Emperor realm artifact is so easy to find. Even a venerable wouldn't waste this bit of time. What's more, the Ink Han clan has already been exterminated. Most of their battle items and treasures have already been used. Tianjin said with a smile. Let's continue searching. If we're lucky, we might be able to obtain some valuable treasures. Wang Xian was rather satisfied with the gains he had made over the past few hours. Hence, he continued to search the surroundings. 1st Order God Emperor realm metallic material detected. A large number of God stones have been found. Discovered a rank 4 God Emperor artifact. 2nd level God Emperor realm medicinal pellet found. 6th Order God Emperor realm material found. Time passed quickly as they continued to fly around the continent. From time to time, they would find some treasures. A month's time passed in the blink of an eye. Wang Xian and the rest were rather satisfied with their gains. Especially Tianjin, who was extremely happy. The Ink Han clan belonged to the sorcerer lineage. Hence, many of their treasures were used by sorcerers. All of them were extremely useful to him. The magical artifacts were useful to Tianjin and Witch Dragon. Some of the metallic materials were useful to the Devouring Dragon. Some of the medicinal pellets in the jade bottles were useful to Wang Xian and the entire Dragon Palace. The entire continent was a treasure trove for them. As they continued searching, they kept all kinds of treasures. Dragon King, even though there are many treasures here, none of them are 7th or 8th Order God Emperor realm. 3 months passed by in the blink of an eye. Wang Xian and the rest had indeed obtained a bountiful harvest. However, there was one thing that they had not come across any high-grade items. The highest grade item they had obtained was merely a 6th Order God Emperor realm. Yamata no Orokai said with displeasure. Along the way, Enlai brought Tianjin back to the Dragon Palace and allowed him to absorb the energy of the 7th Order God Emperor realm sorcerer's corpse. His strength had improved, and he now possessed the strength of a 7th Order God Emperor. Let's search bit by bit. At most, we have explored 1/5 of this continent. Wang Xian smiled and did not mind. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Suddenly, the treasure-seeking ant on Wang Xian's shoulder squeaked. Its pair of antennae glowed brightly as it pointed ahead. "Huh! This is..." Wang Xian sensed the treasure-seeking ant's excited expression. He was stunned for a moment before his face lit up with joy. There should be treasures ahead. As he spoke, he immediately flew towards the direction pointed by the treasure-seeking ant. After Wang Xian's strength increased, his speed was very fast. Orokai and the rest were also delighted as they followed behind. This is... When Wang Xian and the rest flew to the front, they discovered a blessed land. This was the first blessed land they had discovered since they came to this continent. In front of them, mountains and rivers intersected. Mountains that were millions of meters tall were built into an extremely luxurious place to live. Huge waterfalls flowed down from above. The spiritual energy here was also dozens of times denser than other places. Moreover, the array here was still operating. Each array could operate for billions of years. One could imagine the identity and status of the person who had set up this array in the Inkhan family. Dragon King, the level of the array here is very high. Even if it is slightly weakened, I still can't crack it with my current strength, Tianjin said with passionate eyes. In other words, there's a high possibility that a universe supremacy once lived here. Wang Xian raised an eyebrow and his eyes flickered. 90%. The Inkhan family is a primary race in the universe with a very deep foundation. There are dozens of universe supremacies in their entire race. It's highly possible that this was the place where a universe supremacy live. Tianjin nodded. Enlai, I'll leave the rest to you, said Wang Xian to Enlai with a passionate look in his eyes. Don't worry, Dragon King. Leave it to me. TSK, I've finally found some good treasures. Enlai looked at the array in front of him with excitement in his eyes. His figure moved and he immediately entered the formation. It was all thanks to an insane ability like Enlai. Otherwise, Wang Xian and the rest would have no hope of obtaining the treasures. Dragon King, the energy inside is so dense. It's only slightly weaker than our Dragon Palace. Many things inside are intact. Soon, an excited Enlai teleported out and shouted excitedly. Chapter 3000, Classification of Treasures, Acquired Spiritual Treasures on Then Why Aren't You Bringing Us Over? Orochi's eyes lit up when he heard Enlai's voice. He immediately urged. Wang. Enlai glared at Yamata no Orochi. They moved and appeared inside the blessed grotto heaven. At this moment, they were standing in front of a mountain peak. Beside them was a waterfall that fell from the sky. The sound of flowing water brought vitality to this place. If not for the weeds around, this place would definitely be a paradise. The array here is still running, keeping this place clean. Look at the flowers on the waterfall. At this moment, Tianjin suddenly pointed at the center of the waterfall with an excited expression. There were a few flowers on the waterfall that had been flowing for billions of years. The colors of the flowers and the water were very similar. If one did not look closely, one would not be able to tell. Flowers that have been growing on the waterfall for billions of years. Tianjin, Ao Yarrow, Ao Xie, and the rest looked over and exclaimed. Let's go. Wang Xian and the rest made a move and immediately flew towards the waterfall. As they got closer to the emerald blue flowers, they could feel a majestic vitality. There was also a unique energy coming from the flowers. Peak Emperor God level flowers, reverse current heart. Tianjin stared at the 4 flowers and roared excitedly. There are 4 Peak Emperor God level flowers. Does that mean that the Dragon King can achieve another breakthrough after consuming them? Orochi and the rest could not help but ask. It shouldn't be a problem. Wang Xian nodded his head with excitement in his eyes. 4 Peak Emperor God level flowers. Even if they could not help him achieve a breakthrough, he would be on the verge of it. The countercurrent heart is of great use to sorcerers and body refiners. It can be said to be a rare treasure. The conditions for cultivating this kind of treasure are very harsh, and the cultivation time is very long. It may take hundreds of millions of years for a countercurrent heart to mature. These 4 have all matured. They should have been planted when the Mohan clan was exterminated. However, this kind of divine flower is useless to us dragon sorcerers. We have the bloodline of the divine dragon. Tianjin said. Keep it first and continue searching. Wang Xian was in a good mood after obtaining such a precious divine flower the moment he entered. With a wave of his arm, the reverse current heart entered Wang Xian's body and landed in the moon bay of the ancient lake beside the ancestral tree of the Dragon Palace. Come on, let's continue inside. Looking at the direction that the treasure-seeking ant was pointing at, Wang Xian's eyes were filled with anticipation as he flew forward immediately. The entire blessed enclave was not very big. It only had a radius of a few hundred kilometers, and there were more than a dozen towering mountains. Every mountain peak had been transformed very beautifully. There was even a huge mountain peak that had been carved into the shape of a human. In a few mountain peaks, he found several decades worth of God Emperor grade treasures and above. There were even more than 1,000 God King grade treasures. However, none of these treasures could reach the level of the 4 reverse heart flowers. In fact, it was far inferior. In any case, this is the residence of a venerable. Why is there only the countercurrent heart, a venerable level treasure? The Yamata no Orokai scratched his head in disappointment after finding a few 5th order God Emperor realm treasures. Let's continue. Wang Xian smiled. Although he was still a little disappointed, he continued to fly towards the next peak. Ha! The mountain in front is shrouded by an array. When Wang Xian and the rest flew towards the next peak, they realized that the mountain was shrouded by an array. The powerful array sent chills down their spines. It's not just an array. There are 3 layers of defensive arrays and a space sealing array. This array can withstand attacks from those below the venerable level. I wonder why there's a space sealing array, Tianjin said with a frown. There are treasures in there. Moreover, they are very powerful treasures. Upon hearing Tianjin's words, Wang Xian looked at the glow on the treasure-seeking ant's tentacle on his shoulder. Leave it to me. And Lai's eyes lit up. With a swift move, he teleported forward. Dragon King, this is a graveyard. And Lai flew out a few seconds later and exclaimed to Wang Xian and the rest. Let's go in and take a look. Wang Xian and the rest were slightly taken aback as they entered immediately. Inkhan Ghost Law Abode. Inkhan Ghost Law Graveyard. After entering the array, there were 2 lines of engraved words above the entrance of the mountain. The first line seemed to be from a much older era than the second line. Inkhan Ghost Law Graveyard? The owner of this place is called Inkhan Ghost Law Graveyard? Tianjin mumbled to himself. Wang Xian looked ahead, opened his dragon eyes, and walked in. Dragon King, be careful. Most experts would leave some restrictions in their graveyards before they die to prevent others from disturbing them. And Lai, go ahead and scout. Tianjin reminded. Gosh, Tianjin, you're heartless. And Lai's face darkened when he heard Tianjin. However, he still came to Wang Xian immediately. Although you're weak, with your current reflexes, you can dodge the attacks of a venerable in an instant if you're prepared. Tianjin chuckled. And Lai led the way in front while Wang Xian and the rest followed behind. After entering the cave, they arrived at a guest room. Other than some cutlery, there was nothing else. There should have been some items hanging on the wall in the past, but they were long gone. They looked around the guest room but didn't find any treasures. Behind the guest room, there was a staircase that led upwards. Wang Xian and the rest came to the staircase and walked up. The second floor was the living quarters. It was a spacious room, but it was slightly empty. Many things had obviously been moved away. Inside the living quarters on the second floor, there was also a staircase that led upwards. It should be up there. Wang Xian looked at the direction pointed out by the treasure-seeking ant and continued up the stairs. When he reached the second floor, he suddenly felt that it was spacious. The entire huge mountain only had 3 levels, and this level was at least 1,000,000 meters tall. It covered an area of about 10 kilometers. Dragon King, look at the center. At this time, Orochi's surprised voice sounded. Wang Xian and the rest looked over. At the center, there was a chair with a figure sitting on it. The figure looked like only a set of bones. It sat there quietly, without the slightest trace of life. The owner of this place. Wang Xian and the rest flew over immediately when they saw it. When they came to the front of the corpse, they were shocked. An expert who had died billions of years ago. Other than the disappearance of his flesh and blood, his bones were still there. They were like immortal metals and still had a trace of power. The corpse of a venerable of the universe was immortal. Chapter 3001. You can search for Invincible Divine Dragon Cultivation System on Baidu. Wonderbrush Pavilion, to find the latest chapter. There are words on the floor. I, Mohan Gui Fa, protector of the Mohan family. Before the war, I fought with the skeleton race and killed a protector of the skeleton race. I was severely injured and my injuries are irrecoverable. If the war has already started, the Mohan family is definitely not a match for the skeleton race. The Mohan family is about to be annihilated. Although I am unwilling, I am powerless and will take my leave first. If any living beings step into this place, apart from an acquired spiritual treasure, all the treasures have been given to the people of my clan. There is nothing else. If any of my clansmen are still alive, my cultivation room contains all the witchcraft I have collected throughout my life. You can practice them. All that was left was a skeleton body leaning on a golden chair in the middle of the cultivation room. There were a few lines of clear words on the floor. So it was a protector of the Mohan family. No wonder he was so strong and even killed a universe supremacy before his death. Impressive. Orokai commented as he looked at the words on the floor. But this guy is a little stingy. He said he didn't leave any treasures behind. Oh yes, what level is the acquired spiritual treasure? Is it at the level of a universe supremacy? Orokai asked Sky Array Wang and the rest as he scanned the surroundings. What about the acquired spiritual treasure? He asked doubtfully. I'm not too sure about the classification of weapons in the center of the universe. Wang Xian shook his head. There was very little about weapons in the memories of the Divine Dragon inheritance. The Divine Dragon race basically didn't use weapons. Their physical bodies were their best weapons. If there was a weapon, it would probably be the natal Dragon Ball. Moreover, not every Divine Dragon would cultivate the natal Dragon Ball. Therefore, Wang Xian wasn't too sure about the classification of weapons in the center of the universe. Sky Array Wang shook his head as he scanned the surroundings. Hey! Where's the acquired spiritual treasure that this guy mentioned? And Lai also scanned the surroundings with curiosity. Aosia frowned slightly and flew up immediately. There were hidden compartments on the surrounding walls. There was a protruding area in front of the hidden compartment with a chair on it. Books were placed in the hidden compartment. There were thousands of these hidden compartments. Wang Xian scanned the surroundings with his dragon eyes and looked in the direction where the treasure-seeking ant's tentacle was pointing. At this time, Wang Xian saw a figure sitting on a seat beside a secret compartment. Dragon King, there's another corpse here. At this time, Aosia also noticed the figure above and immediately informed Wang Xian and the rest. Whoosh! Wang Xian Tianjin and the rest frowned slightly and immediately looked up. This is... A skinny old man sat cross-legged on the ground in the corner next to the hidden compartment, which was used for reading books. The old man was almost skin and bones. His eyes were closed, as if he had no flesh and blood. The green veins were exposed and looked a little scary. Why is there another dead person? Yamata no Orokai looked at the skinny old man and was filled with surprise. You don't look like you're with Mohan Ghostcraft. Even your skin isn't rotten. Did they enter this place later? He's still alive. Wang Xian was also sizing up this body. His powerful senses could sense a faint trace of vitality in this body. What? He's still alive. Yamata no Orokai and the rest were extremely shocked. And Lai approached and hesitated for a moment before touching the old man's head. Dragon King, is there no vitality left? He sensed and couldn't help but ask. There seems to be a little bit of vitality left. Yamata no Orokai placed his hand on the old man and was a little shocked. This old man should have entered this place later, just like us. However, he triggered the array here for some reason and is trapped here. There's nothing to eat or drink here. Although experts only need energy to survive, have you guys realized that there's no energy here at all? It's a vacuum realm. The spiritual energy here has been completely absorbed by him. Without spiritual energy, he can only exhaust his physical strength to preserve his vitality. This old man has obviously used a special technique to seal off his exhaustion to preserve a trace of vitality. I wonder how long he has been here. Tianjin said with some surprise. To be able to enter this place, he should be a peak emperor god. Wang Xian said as he looked to the side. There was a chessboard at the side. There were flags of different colors on the chessboard. On the flags, there were words A, B, C, D, E, G, Gang, Xin, Ren, Gui, Zi, Cho, Yin, Mao, Chen, Sai, Wu, Wei, Shin, Yu, Shu, Hai. The entire chessboard exuded a mysterious power. This was obviously a sorcery weapon. Moreover, it was highly likely to be the acquired spiritual treasure that Mohan had mentioned. Beside the chessboard, There was a book. The book stated that it was a treasure nurtured by the universe, a treasure forged by mighty forces. Wang Xian waved his arm and a book made of metal appeared in his hand. He flipped to the first page. All living things in the universe could be categorized into different levels. This book mainly introduced the artifacts in the universe. In the center of the universe, the experts categorized the treasures as Heaven Yuan creation treasures, also known as chaos treasures. Next were innate treasures, innate spiritual treasures, acquired treasures, and acquired spiritual treasures. The first page of the book introduced the classification of the treasures in the center of the universe. From weak to strong, acquired spiritual treasures, innate spiritual treasures, and finally, chaos treasures. Even the weakest of these treasures could only be refined by the supremacies of the universe. With powerful treasures, one could kill experts of the same level. As he continued to flip to the next page, there were records of some powerful treasures. There were also some records of chaos treasures. However, the author of this book didn't dare to confirm whether chaos treasures existed. Wang Xian continued to flip to the next page and realized that there was a marked page at the back. The marked page was a record of an acquired spiritual treasure. It was a chessboard-like acquired spiritual treasure called the divination chessboard. The divination chessboard was a sorcerer's array board and an acquired spiritual treasure. Moreover, it was an extremely powerful acquired spiritual treasure. Its power could almost match up to some acquired spiritual treasures, and it was forged by an extremely powerful great witch. Treasures were differentiated into innate and acquired spiritual treasures, and the difference was huge. Carnate treasures were nurtured by the universe. They were treasures that had survived catastrophes, while acquired treasures were created by powerful beings with great power. Innate treasures were much more powerful than acquired spiritual treasures. As for the top-notch chaos treasures, the Heaven Yuan creation treasures, they were treasures that were born together with the universe. There were only legends of chaos treasures, but no one had seen them before. Chapter 3002, Trapped Old Manon Dragon King. This chessboard is a treasure. It contains great power. While Wang Xian was reading the book, Tianjin picked up the divination chessboard and examined it. His face was filled with astonishment. On the other hand, Orokai and Enlai were curiously sizing up the old man who was sitting cross-legged. They touched the old man's body. "Give me this book, it's about universal treasures." Wang Xian passed the book to Tianjin and took the divination chessboard. The divination chessboard could only be used by sorcerers. It was one of the more powerful acquired spiritual treasures. Moreover, the reason why the divination chessboard could be compared to acquired spiritual treasures was because of a crucial point. The divination chessboard wasn't a acquired spiritual treasure that could be used by a single person. It required at least 9 people. These 9 people released 9 different elemental arrays to attack. The 9 different elemental arrays supported each other and increased their offensive power. It wasn't difficult for 9 people to release 9 different elemental arrays on the divination chessboard. But with only 9 people, the divination chessboard could only increase their offensive power by a little. It wasn't even as good as a lesser-grade spiritual treasure. Doubling the number of people would increase the divination chessboard's power by 1%. Increasing the number of people by 10 times was 10%. Increasing it by 100 times was 100%. Increasing it by 1,000% was the limit. Increasing it by 1,000 times was the limit of the entire divination chessboard. What kind of concept was this? For example, 9,999 7th Order God Emperor Realm Tianjin standing on the divination chessboard could increase their offensive power to that of an 8th Order God Emperor. Wasn't it terrifying to jump an entire level? Of course, there was a reason why the Dark Han Ghost Clan gave all their treasures to their clansmen and disciples. Only this one treasure was left behind. Firstly, the sorcerers on the divination chessboard had to have the same combat power. Secondly, every elemental array had to be exactly the same. Thirdly, the coordination had to be seamless. Otherwise, the slightest mistake could greatly reduce the power. It was extremely harsh. The entire Dark Han clan could only find 99 people to control the divination chessboard. However, 99 people could only increase the power by 10%. It wasn't even as good as the sorcerer weapon in his hand. Cake, this old man must have extraordinary strength to be able to enter here. There must be many treasures in his spatial ring. At this moment, Orokai suddenly dug out a space ring from the old man's arm and examined it with shining eyes. Heavenly formation, come, let's break it. Yamata no Orokai shouted at the heavenly formation. Although this old man is almost dead, he's not dead yet. There's his imprint on it, and with his strength, I can't break it. Unless I kill him, the restrictions on the space ring will automatically be removed. Heavenly formation said to him. Oh. Then let's send him to hell. Orokai grinned. Dragon King, his strength should be extraordinary. What if we use him as a resource? How much energy do you think his body has left? Wang Xian replied to Orokai speechlessly as he sized up the old man. Buzz. His dragon eyes flickered with black and white light as he activated the power of the yin-yang heart. The heart of yin-yang could determine whether a person was good or bad. In the universe, there was no expert who was not stained with blood, but the yin-yang heart could still determine whether a person was good or evil. If the heart of yin-yang was classified as a treasure, Wang Xian guessed that it would at least be at the pinnacle of inborn cardinal treasure. The human heart is not evil. Through his senses, he could sense that there was still positive energy in the old man. Wang Xian hesitated for a moment. With a wave of his arm, a jade bottle of vitality fluid appeared in his hand. Dragon King, are you going to save him? Orokai asked curiously. Those who are righteous are also grateful people. It's also beneficial for us to be indebted to an expert. Wang Xian replied as the jade bottle of vitality fluid fell into the old man's body. That's true. This old man's body has no more energy, Orokai murmured. The vitality fluid fell on the old man's head and was rapidly absorbed by him. His body was like a sponge as he absorbed it crazily. Wang Xian watched quietly from the side. The old man was not dead, but starved. As long as there was energy, he could recover quickly. Dragon King, this celestial chessboard is very useful for us dragon shamans. Heavenly Formation said to Wang Xian. After reading the book, his eyes were filled with excitement. My tens of thousands of dragon shamans can use this chessboard to increase its power to the maximum. Heavenly Formation continued. Yeah. Wang Xian nodded. He could also tell that this celestial chessboard was very suitable for the dragon shamans. The dragon shamans learned all kinds of witchcraft and array formations in unison and had almost insane coordination. The celestial chessboard was perfect for them. Continue to check the surroundings. There should be many useful books here. Keep them. Wang Xian said to Heavenly Formation and the rest. Yes, Dragon King. The few of them nodded and immediately flew towards the hidden compartments. Cough. Cough. The old man in front of Wang Xian let out an extremely weak sound. Wang Xian looked down and saw his skinny head gradually filling out. Traces of flesh and blood were growing as his face turned rosy. Vitality fluid was a powerful treasure of the venerable level. It could heal irreversible injuries. Even if a bottle of vitality fluid couldn't fully recover the old man, it could at least restore 1% of his strength. It wouldn't be a problem for him to fly normally. Flesh and blood were growing on the old man's body as traces of vitality emanated from his body. Wang Xian watched quietly. 10 minutes later, the flesh and blood on the old man's body had fully recovered. He had become a slightly plump old man. Judging from his size, he should be at least 150 kilograms according to Earth standards. Very plump. Is this benefactor the one who saved my life? The old man opened his eyes, stood up slowly and bowed to Wang Xian. Wang Xian nodded his head. I'm Ming Xuanji. Thank you, benefactor, for saving me. Ming Xuanji bowed gratefully again. His fingers moved as he calculated. It's been more than 80 million years. You've been here for more than 80 million years. Wang Xian looked at him in surprise. Yes, benefactor. When I entered this place more than 80 million years ago, the owner was obviously a scheming old man. The moment I picked up the celestial chessboard, the array was activated and I was trapped here. Given my strength, I couldn't break the array. Moreover, even after I absorbed the spiritual energy and all my treasures, I still couldn't find a way to break the array. I had no choice but to retract all my vitality and resign myself to fate. Fortunately, benefactor, you guys are here. Otherwise, I would have passed away, Ming Xuanji said bitterly. What? Old man, you said that all the treasures on you are gone? At this time, Orokai flew over and stared at him. Chapter 3003, The Trapped Old Man. Down below, I've already absorbed everything with a bit of spiritual chi. Even my treasures have been painfully destroyed by me to maintain my vitality, Ming Xuanji said bitterly. For 80 million years, there was no spiritual energy or food here. He could only absorb his treasures as resources to sustain his life. He was extremely lucky to be able to survive after 80 million years. Pauper. Orokai couldn't help but say to the old man. I, Ming Xuanji, will never forget the kindness of my benefactor and all of you. I'll definitely repay you in the future. Now, if all of you want to repay me, I can only do so with my body. Oh, and I see that you're a sorcerer, right? I can tell you all the sorcery that I know. At this moment, Ming Xuanji said with a smile. The flesh on his face was twitching. Pay with my body? Orochi's face darkened when he heard him. Oh. Are you willing to impart your sorcery to me? Tianjun, who was at the side, was delighted when he heard him. No problem, no problem. You've saved my life. Even if I have to impart all my knowledge to you, it doesn't matter. Ming Xuanji said with a smile. Thank you, thank you. Tianjun cupped his hands immediately. All right, we're done with the looting. Let's leave. Wang Xian chuckled and said. Yes, Dragon King. Tianjun and the rest nodded immediately. Aren't you guys going to take the corpse of Mohan Hei with you? At this moment, Ming Xuanji saw the corpse and asked. This corpse has no energy left. What use is it? Orokai raised an eyebrow and asked. If it's soaked in potions and refined, it can be made into a powerful puppet. Ming Xuanji didn't hide anything. We won't make use of it. You can keep it for yourself. Wang Xian said to him. Hihi, great. Thank you, benefactor. Ming Xuanji nodded excitedly. Let's go. Soon, Enlai said and led them out of this place. Ming Xuanji looked at Enlai in surprise. Ming Xuanji, are you familiar with this continent? Wang Xian asked Ming Xuanji as he exited the array. Benefactor, this continent is called the Sorcerer's Grace Continent. I don't know the details. When I first entered this continent, I searched for a long time before I came here. I never expected that I would never be able to leave this continent, Ming Xuanji said. Wizard Grace Continent. Wang Xian and the rest nodded. Have you finished searching the entire continent? No, I've searched about half of it. Ming Xuanji shook his head. Have you been to the other 17 continents? Are you familiar with that place? Wang Xian continued asking. I've been to one of the other 17 continents, but it's basically in ruins. I haven't been to the rest of the continents, Ming Xuanji said. Tianjin, you stay here with Ming Xuanji and learn some witchcraft. We'll go explore other places, Wang Xian said to the sky formation. It's Dragon King, Tianjin nodded. Benefactor, leave the matter of teaching witchcraft to me. I will do my best to teach you. Ming Xuanji immediately nodded. Wang Xian and the rest nodded their heads and continued to explore the surroundings. They didn't let Ming Xuanji follow them mainly to avoid exposing Enlai's ability. Tianjin followed Ming Xuanji to practice witchcraft while Wang Xian and the rest continued to explore. In the next 2 months, they had obtained quite a lot of treasures. In just 2 months, they had basically searched the entire continent. Not bad. Wang Xian smiled as he looked at the rewards he had obtained over the past few months. He had obtained quite a lot of divine grass and divine wood. There were also over 1,000 God Emperor level weapons. There were also a few 7th or 8th order God Emperors. Tianjin, how's it going? We're leaving. Wang Xian asked with a smile when he returned to where Tianjin and the rest were. All right, Dragon King. I've memorized some of the witchcraft knowledge. Tianjin nodded his head with a smile on his face. Clearly, he had grasped quite a lot of things over the past 2 months. Brother Tianjin's talent is really terrifying. It won't be long before he surpasses me, Ming Xuanji exclaimed from the side. When he was teaching Tianjin, he was taken aback. Be it his comprehension or control, Tianjin was astounded. Even if his magus knowledge was lower than Leylin's, with such a terrifying ability to learn and grasp, he was sure that Leylin would catch up to him in no time. Brother Ming Xuanji, you flatter me. Thank you for your guidance over the past 2 months. Tianjin cupped his fists and thanked him. Compared to saving my life, this is nothing. Ming Xuanji shook his head immediately. In that case, let's part ways here. Wang Xian looked at Ming Xuanji and said, All right, please leave your name. I'll pay you a visit in the future to thank you. Ming Xuanji cupped his fists and asked Wang Xian. Dragon Palace, Dragon King, there's no need for gratitude. Goodbye. Wang Xian cupped his fists and looked at Tianjin and the rest. The few of them nodded their heads and flew towards the border of the continent. Dragon King of Dragon Palace? Ming Xuanji murmured as his figure gradually disappeared. After getting out of the confinement array, he could return to his own holy kingdom in an instant. Dragon King, Ming Xuanji is strong and knowledgeable. He has mastered too many sorcery skills. In just 2 months, he has recovered to the 8th Order God Emperor realm. At his peak, he should be a peak God Emperor realm magus. Tianjin said as they flew towards the edge of the battlefield. In the starry sky around the Incan dynasty ruins, he is considered one of the stronger ones. Wang Xian nodded his head. There were no other low-level races around the Incan dynasty ruins. A peak God Emperor realm magus was almost invincible in this starry sky. Enlai, get ready to enter the next continent. Wang Xian said. Yes, Dragon King. Enlai nodded his head and disappeared instantly. He, after exploring all the continents, our Dragon Palace should be able to reap great reward. Yamata no Orokai said excitedly. Tianjin and the rest nodded their heads with anticipation and excitement in their eyes. The distance between the 18 continents in the center of the Incan dynasty ruins wasn't very far. Enlai teleported back after 10 minutes. Dragon King, I've entered the 2nd continent. That continent is a little strange. Enlai flew over and reported to Wang Xian. Strange? Come, let's head over. Wang Xian and the rest were curious. The scene before them changed and a unique continent appeared before their eyes. This was a 9-colored continent, and 9 different types of light enveloped this continent. There weren't any buildings in the entire continent. Chapter 3004, 9-colored radiance shrouded the entire continent. 9 types of elemental energy were presented by a special array. Below them, the entire continent looked extremely flat and there were no buildings on it. Instead, there were praying mats for cultivation. The 9-colored radiance divided the entire continent into 9 sections. At the center, they could see a 9-colored light pillar. What's this? Wang Xian sized up this world with his dragon eyes and his face was filled with astonishment. The entire continent was obviously much smaller than before. However, the continent looked very magical. It looks like a training ground. Tianjin and the rest frowned and guessed. The dojo was a cultivation ground owned by powerful forces. It was similar to the dragon field of the Dragon Palace. Let's go to the center, said Wang Xian. He immediately flew towards the center of the light pillar. They were fast. Without searching for treasures, it would only take them tens of minutes to reach the center. This is. When Wang Xian and the rest approached the center, the tentacles of the treasure-seeking ant on their shoulders glowed brightly. There are treasures. Wang Xian squinted his eyes and stopped in front of the light pillar. He looked down and saw 9 incomparably huge ponds. The ponds were filled with liquids of various colors and the light pillar came from these ponds. What's this? It's so magical. Orokai could not help but ask. I realized that I can easily sense the various elemental energy here. Tianjin stood at the side and waved his arm. An array was formed. He waved his arm again and the array dissipated. The energy blended into the surrounding void. Wang Xian and the rest looked at Tianjin. This should be the training ground of the Mohan clan. Setting up arrays here will increase the speed by 10 times. Moreover, the consumption will be very low. If you practice setting up arrays here, you will get a huge boost. Tianjin said to them. As he finished his sentence, he looked down at the ponds. In each of the ponds, there were 19 praying mats. Tianjin moved and landed on one of the praying mats. He sat down with his legs crossed. Dragon King, this is a sacred place for array sorcerers to cultivate. Look at these praying mats. Each of them is a peak Emperor God treasure. Subsequently, Tianjin sized up the praying mats he was sitting on and commented in shock. What? Why is he so perverted? Tianjin and the others exclaimed and immediately flew down. Wang Xian also flew down immediately. Dragon King, take a look. It is indeed a peak Emperor God level praying mat. This is definitely the cultivation holy land of the Ink Han clan, Tianjin said confidently. These praying mats are indeed at the peak stage God Emperor grade. There are 19 of them in one pool, and over 100 in 9 pools. This is truly extravagant. This is the foundation of a primary race in the universe, he said with slight trembling. Over 100 peak Emperor God treasures, if placed around the Ink Han dynasty ruins, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. Dragon King, I plan to let Dragon Witch cultivate here. Cultivating here will greatly increase their combat power, Tianjin immediately said. Sure. Wang Xian nodded his head. The dragon field of the Dragon Palace didn't have any treasures specifically for wizard cultivation. The strongest point of the dragon field was that it could enhance one's comprehension. It was completely different from this place. This was a treasured land used to increase one's proficiency in array formations. It complemented the dragon field of the Dragon Palace. And Lai, bring all the dragon witches over. Roving demon, roving crab, 8-headed serpent, check the surroundings for any treasures. I'll increase my strength first. Wang Xian instructed them one by one. Yes. The few of them answered immediately. Wang Xian passed the treasure-seeking ant to 8-headed serpent, walked to the side of the pool, and took out elixir pills. In the previous land, Wang Xian didn't obtain many elixir pills, but he did obtain many divine herbs and divine wood. The most precious were the 4 reverse current hearts. The reverse current heart was a peak stage God Emperor divine flower. 4 of them, in addition to the other elixir pills, were sufficient to improve his strength further. Ding! Congratulations to the host for leveling up to 2nd Order Void God Emperor. Ding! Congratulations to the host for comprehending the law of Divine Dragon, 5 Elements Dragon Claw. Soon, the system's notification sounded. Waves of powerful aura gushed out from Wang Xian's body. On both of his palms, 5 colored rays of light lingered on his fingers. The radiance gradually condensed into a 5-colored divine dragon and entered Wang Xian's palm. Name, Wang Xian race. Yin-Yang 5 Elements Divine Dragon, 1 with the Dragon, rank, 2nd Order Void God Emperor, 8th Transformation of Divine Dragon Transformation, Origin Source, 1239601000000000000 Superpower. Dominate the marine animals, rule any marine animals lower than your own level, devour living creatures, extract origin source from living creatures, 5 Elements Control Cultivation Technique, Divine Dragon Transformation Superpower, Soul Assimilation, Spirit Attachment Law of Divine. Abilities, Dragon Eyes 8 Desolations, 5 Elements Dragon Claw Dharma Form, 5 Elements Grindstone, Dragon Country in the Palm, Dragon Head Descending, 10,000 Miles Dragon Body, Yin-Yang 2 Poles, Yin-Yang 5 Elements Bowl, Divine Dragon Tail Whip. Law of Mastery, Metal, Wood, Water, Fire, Earth, Light, Dark, Wind God Kingdom, Dragon Palace Owned Dragon Palace, Level 9 Dragon Palace Members, 1032450 Few. He opened his eyes, and a smile appeared on his face. 2nd Order God Emperor. My current combat strength can reach the void 8th Order God Emperor realm. He clenched his fists, feeling the immense power, and was full of smiles. Given his current strength, he could wipe out the entire 3-eyed race and 4-armed race by himself. He looked to the side, where the members of the Witch Dragon were practicing their arrays. The tens of thousands of Witch Dragon were around the 9th Order God King realm. They weren't strong, but they weren't weak either. Tianjin sat cross-legged at the side, cultivating quietly. Huh! But at this moment, Tianjun, who was cultivating on the futon, raised an eyebrow. He waved his arm and took out an item from his spatial ring. Dragon King, there's a problem at the entrance. Seeing that Wang Xian had broken through, he flew over immediately. Huh? What's wrong? The array you set up at the entrance has been broken? Wang Xian raised an eyebrow and asked. The entrance was naturally the two entrances to the resplendent starry sky. Yes, the array I set up at the entrance has been broken forcefully. It should be the people from the two major races. Tianjun replied. The two major races. Wang Xian's eyes revealed a sinister look. It seems like the two major races haven't given up on our dragon palace. In that case, let's use their corpses as resources for our dragon palace to improve, he said with a murderous aura. Since he had just broken through, he could use the two major races as an example. Yes, Dragon King. Tianjun nodded his head, and his eyes were filled with a sinister look. He was also filled with murderous intent towards the three-eyed race and four-armed race who had repeatedly invaded their territory. Chapter 3005. One man kills millions on ha ha ha. It's been half a year, we've finally found the entrance to that space. At the edge of the Ink Han clan's ruins, the four-armed tribe and three-eyed tribe stared at the space in front of them with excitement. The two factions, with a total of 10 million experts, had searched for more than half a year before they finally found the entrance to that space. At the very front, the four-armed tribe leader, who was sitting on a lotus, and the three-eyed tribe leader, who was riding on a one-eyed rhinoceros, revealed faint smiles on their faces. They looked at the entrance to the starry sky and looked at each other. This array is able to defend against the attacks of a sixth-order God Emperor realm expert. The person who arranged this array should be a sixth-order God Emperor realm magus. No wonder our vanguard army was annihilated, the four-armed tribe leader said indifferently. He, no matter how powerful they are, will make them pay the price of destruction. Let's go. The three-eyed tribe leader said indifferently. His figure flashed and the two of them flew towards the entrance. The chiefs of the two tribes entered, and the other clansmen followed behind them with faces filled with excitement. This time, the two tribes had sent over 80% of their forces. Adding on the alliance between the two forces, it was not an exaggeration to say that they were a formidable force in the vicinity of the Ink Han clan's ruins. I wonder how many lesser dragons with the divine dragon bloodline there are in that dragon palace. As long as there are a few hundred of them, it's a huge resource. One has to know that lesser dragons are extremely valuable in the current universe. If there were tens of thousands of them, that would be even better. We can also become dragon knights. As the two tribes entered the resplendent starry sky, they looked around excitedly and discussed among themselves. In the current universe, even a lesser dragon was extremely valuable. The divine dragon bloodline was incomparably noble. As long as one had the divine dragon bloodline, they could reach the peak of the God Emperor realm with some nurturing. If the bloodline was pure, they could even reach the universe venerable realm. What kind of concept was that? Universe venerables were terrifying existences that only low-level races could possess. Being able to own a divine dragon as a mount represented one's identity and status. Even their tribe leader was not qualified to use a lesser dragon as a mount. When they said they wanted to be dragon knights, it was just for fun. The group of 10 million people, with the weakest being a sixth-order God Emperor realm expert, was the core strength of the two tribes. There were over 20,000 God Emperor realm experts, and they entered the resplendent starry sky in a grandiose manner. What were the people of these two races doing? Almost 80% of their forces are gathered here. They actually entered the ruins of the Mohan clan. Just as everyone from the two races entered through the entrance, more than a dozen figures hidden in the void behind them looked at them suspiciously. The dozen of them had noticed the situation here 2 months ago. The three-eyed tribe and the four-armed tribe had more than 10 million people in total. Although they had done a lot of concealment and spread out, they still noticed something fishy. Come, let's follow them and take a look. Since the two great tribes have been searching for so long, there must be some great treasures. One of them said. Let's go. More than a dozen people moved and immediately followed behind and entered. Three-eyed patriarch, can you find the way? At the forefront of the two races, 10 million people had entered. The four-armed tribe leader, who was sitting on a lotus, looked around and asked the three-eyed patriarch, "Let me check it out." The three-eyed patriarch nodded, and the pitch-black eye between his brows sized up this world coldly. Under the gaze of his glabella, everything was deathly pale. "I've found traces of the four-armed tribe. Follow me," the three-eyed patriarch said plainly. The one-eyed rhinoceros under him immediately galloped forward towards the planet on the other side of the Eight Desolations Six Directions planet. "Dragon King, they have entered the Eight Desolations Six Directions planet and are flying in our direction. TSK, I have to say that the races in this universe are really powerful. They actually know where we are." At this very moment, Wang Xian and the rest were standing on a meteorite in the void not far away from the two tribes. Enlai teleported over and reported the situation. Wang Xian squinted his eyes and revealed a cold expression. "How's the heavenly array?" Wang Xian asked heavenly array. "Dragon King, the heavenly array can definitely be completed before they arrive. However, the heavenly array will collapse if it's attacked by 2 to 3 7th-order God Emperor Realm Expert," heavenly array said. "It's enough to trap the other members of the two races. Those 7th-order God Emperor Realm Experts won't have a chance to attack the heavenly array," Wang Xian said plainly. With the strength of a 6th-order God Emperor, they can forget about breaking through our blockade." Heavenly array chuckled and revealed a confident look. "Just leave it to me to trap them." Wang Xian stood there quietly. The 5 elements grindstone transformed into a crown on his head, and the yin-yang dragon coiled around him. Time passed slowly. Tianjun was standing behind Wang Xian, waiting for him. Before long, an army of over 10 million people appeared in their sight. Wang Xian squinted his eyes and they shone brightly. The three-eyed patriarch stared ahead with the black eye between his brows. When he saw the two figures standing on the meteorite, his black eyes wavered slightly. "There's someone ahead," the three-eyed patriarch said plainly. "Huh." The patriarch of the four-armed tribe narrowed his eyes as a blurry figure appeared in his sight. "Did he know we were coming?" The patriarch of the four-armed tribe raised an eyebrow and said plainly, "Be careful." The eyes of the patriarch of the three-eyed tribe flickered. The patriarch of the four-armed tribe nodded his head and the group continued to fly forward. The distance between the two parties was getting closer. "Hey, there's someone ahead." There are indeed two people. What are they doing on the meteorite? Soon, the experts from the two races noticed the two figures in front of them. They were curious and whispered to each other. "Everyone, may I know why you are here at the bedazzling starry sky?" Wang Xian asked plainly as he saw them approaching. "Who are you?" "Members of the bedazzling starry sky Dragon Palace?" The patriarch of the three-eyed tribe waved his hand when he heard Wang Xian's question. Everyone stopped immediately. The patriarch of the four-armed tribe did the same and looked at Wang Xian. "Yes, are you here to invade our Dragon Palace?" Wang Xian continued to ask. "Were the disciples of my four-armed tribe killed by your Dragon Palace?" The patriarch of the four-armed tribe stood up slowly and retorted with murderous intent. "It's your people who are courting death." Wang Xian nodded his head and the unbeginning saint wings appeared behind him. Chapter 3006. One man killing millions in here. You said our people are courting death. I think your Dragon Palace is courting death too. The leader of the four-armed tribe revealed a sinister expression when he heard Wang Xian's words. The leader of the three-eyed tribe sized Wang Xian up coldly. He sensed Wang Xian's strength and was prepared to make a move. You will soon know who will die next." Wang Xian smiled faintly. Tianjun, who was standing by the side, took out a weapon he had obtained from the Ink Hand tribe and waved his arm lightly. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In the next moment, ripples appeared in the void. Unlike the array, this was Tianjun's newly mastered space sealing array that could seal the entire void. The four-armed tribe and three-eyed tribe that were suddenly enveloped by the array were taken aback. How dare they seal us? Are they courting death? This is a space sealing array. What are they trying to do? Do they think they can fight us with their strength? They are courting death. Kill them. When the four-armed tribe and three-eyed tribe saw the array enveloping them, some of them were enraged. However, many of them revealed a hint of wariness. Since the other party dared to envelop them with a space-sealing array, it was definitely not just to scare them. Moreover, some of the experts could sense that this space-sealing array was very powerful. Destroy this space-sealing array. The leader of the three-eyed tribe narrowed his eyes and immediately gave the order. Do it. The leader of the four-armed tribe also gave the order. They felt uneasy being enveloped by this space-sealing array. After the leaders of the two tribes gave the order, the dozen seventh-order God Emperor realm experts behind them moved. However, Wang Xian also made his move the moment they made their move. Whoosh! The unparalleled Saint wings spread out, and his speed reached a terrifying level. Dragon eyes locking 8 desolations. Wang Xian shot out a terrifying pressure from his eyes and charged towards them. In his dragon eyes, the shadows of 9 divine dragons rushed out, dragging long chains behind them. Hualala! The speed of the 9 divine dragon shadows was incomparably fast. In the blink of an eye, they were in front of the experts of the two tribes. Not good. What kind of attack is this? When Wang Xian's nomological mystique attacked, the four-armed tribe chief and the three-eyed tribe chief, who were at the forefront, were horrified. Their pupils constricted slightly and were filled with shock. Block this attack first. The three-eyed patriarch's black pupil between his eyebrows revealed a shocked expression, and he immediately roared. What happened? When the 10 million people of the two tribes heard the voice of the three-eyed tribe's patriarch, their faces were filled with shock. Attack! The other dozen or so 7th-order God Emperor realm experts also felt the threat from the 8 desolation dragon eyes. Their expressions changed in an instant, and they rushed forward to receive the attack. Roar! At this moment, Wang Xian dashed over at a terrifying speed. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he locked onto the leader of the four-armed tribe. Damn, he's an 8th-order God Emperor realm expert. Upon seeing Wang Xian's terrifying speed, the four-armed tribesman bellowed in horror. His 4 arms lengthened abruptly. Spears appeared in his palms as he charged towards Wang Xian. Die. However, his speed was too slow in Wang Xian's eyes. With his current combat power at the peak of the 8th-order God Emperor realm, he could instantly kill an 8th-order God Emperor realm expert. A 7th-order God Emperor realm expert, even if the patriarch of a tribe had many treasures, was useless against him. PFFF. The four-armed tribe's patriarch wanted to attack Wang Xian. However, Wang Xian flapped his unbeginning saint wings and appeared behind him in an instant. What terrifying speed! The four-armed tribe's patriarch's pupils shrank, and his face was filled with shock. The current Wang Xian's speed was comparable to a 9th-order God Emperor realm expert. The four-armed tribe's patriarch could not react in time. PFFF. In the next instant, Wang Xian's palm entered the four-armed tribe's patriarch's body, and a destructive energy drained away his vitality. The four-armed tribe's patriarch's eyes widened, and his body trembled. A soft snort sounded in his ears. Hualala. At this moment, numerous chains wrapped around the entire void. The unbeginning saint wings flapped, and Wang Xian instantly charged towards the next 7th-order God Emperor realm expert. What? This is impossible. An incomparably shocked voice came from behind. The four-armed tribe's patriarch was killed in an instant, and their faces were filled with shock. Their patriarch was killed in an instant. That was their patriarch, a 7th-order God Emperor realm expert. That person is an 8th-order God Emperor realm expert. At the back, a God Emperor roared in fear. An 8th-order God Emperor realm expert was an existence that surpassed their two tribes. This is bad. Just as the two tribes had a bad premonition, Wang Xian's figure appeared beside one of the three-eyed tribe's 7th-order God Emperor realm experts. Die for me. That three-eyed tribe's expert saw Wang Xian charging towards him, and his eyes turned bloodshot as he roared with all his might. You're the one who's going to die. A terrifying attack came towards Wang Xian and he did not dodge at all. He raised his arm, and his dragon claw enlarged. 5 elements dragon claw. The 5 elements dragon claw contained the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Radiance intertwined, forming a dusky energy. Filled with the power of death, it destroyed the three-eyed tribe's seventh-order God Emperor Realm expert's attack as the dragon claw grabbed his body. As if he had experienced the river of time, the vitality in his body was erased in an instant. Surround him. The three-eyed tribe's patriarch and the group of seventh-order God Realm experts roared in fear when they saw Wang Xian killing two people in an instant. Law of death, eye of death. Law of death, four arms connecting the heavens. Violent roars reverberated through the air, and the seventh-order God Emperor Realm experts did not dare to hold back. They immediately executed their law of death and attacked Wang Xian. You're too slow. You want to destroy our dragon palace? Today, I'll make you pay with your lives. Wang Xian revealed a look of disdain when he saw their attacks. With a sway of his body, he easily dodged their attacks. He hovered in the void at the side. Tao of Judgment. Dragon eyes locking the 8 desolations, 5 elements dragon claw, explode. Wang Xian stared at the 12 seventh-order God Emperor Realm experts in front of him, and the chains around him pierced through them. An incomparably huge dragon claw appeared in the void, and the dusky dragon claw looked sinister and terrifying. It contained the power of death. Chains and dragon claw rained down on them. Eye of death. The three-eyed tribe's patriarch's heart skipped a beat when he saw this terrifying attack. With a flick of his palm, a strange pupil appeared in his hand. A dead spirit floated out from the pupil, and it enveloped him. Chapter 3007, One Man Killing Millions Below. Boom. 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 A terrifying attack that blotted out the sky descended upon the 13 seventh-order God Emperor Realm experts. Chains coiled around the dusky dragon claws as the terrifying attack fell upon them. The strongest experts of the two tribes were filled with fear and astonishment as they faced Wang Xian's attacks. Block, block. They released their trump cards with fear written all over their faces. The patriarch of the three-eyed tribe who was surrounded by the dead souls. The expert of the four-armed tribe who was protected by the 4 giant palms. The expert of the three-eyed tribe who was fleeing frantically. And the elder of the four-armed tribe who was protected by the golden palms. Bam! As the giant palms descended, the oppressive force caused the void to explode. Ah! Blood-curdling screams rang out as the bodies of the seventh-order God Emperor Realm experts started to crumble. Damn it, we are no match for him. The elder of the three-eyed tribe watched as the bodies of his clansmen and four-armed tribe's experts crumbled as chains pierced through their bodies. His face was filled with horror. Dead spirit substitute. The patriarch of the three-eyed tribe roared with an ugly expression. Bam! In the next moment, the dead souls in front of him entered his body, and the eye of the dead spirits in his hand pierced through his forehead. His body trembled slightly. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Chains pierced through his body, rapidly melting away his life force. But at this time, a black dot disappeared like a black hole. Wang Xian swept his gaze over and his eyes shone with brilliance. Ah, Buddha Radiant's golden palm, take me into the Buddha kingdom. At this time, another violent roar came from below. Wang Xian swept his gaze across. When the four-armed expert who was protected by the golden palm saw the golden palm crumble, a golden sigh flew out of his body. The sigh contained the shadow of a great hall. With a swift move, he dived into it. The patriarch of the three-eyed tribe and the four-armed tribe expert had escaped. Not bad indeed. Wang Xian looked over and wasn't too surprised. It was normal for such experts to have some tricks up their sleeves. But all of you shall die. Wang Xian's 5 elements dragon claws were covered in chains as he crushed the other 11 seventh-order God Emperor Realm experts. No. Blood-curdling screams filled the air as the seventh-order God Emperor Realm experts lost all signs of life. No, 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 how can this be, how can this be? Patriarch and the others, Supreme Elder, Protector and the others are all dead. Behind them, everyone from the two tribes widened their eyes when they saw this. Their faces were filled with astonishment. Their bodies trembled as they watched this scene. The two clans worked together to find the entrance for more than half a year. They thought that they would be able to harvest a large number of sky dragons. They were still fantasizing about obtaining a great opportunity. The result was actually like this. They were basically here to die. Break the formation and run. One of the Sixth Order God Emperor Realm Elders roared. Run, 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 run. Terrified cries rang out. In an instant, tens of millions of people fled in all directions frantically. The Dragon Palace has no enmity with you, but you want to destroy us. You can only blame yourselves. Wang Xian's body trembled slightly as he looked at the experts from the two tribes who were in a frenzy. Be annihilated in the river of time. Wang Xian's body trembled slightly as he raised his palm, which turned into a massive dragon claw. With a wave of his arm, a grayish destructive energy engulfed the tens of millions of people who were fleeing in a frenzy. A river of destruction appeared and engulfed all of them. The terrifying river of time swept past, and the experts at the forefront were instantly annihilated in the river of time. All signs of life disappeared. No. Some people saw the river of time engulfing them, and their faces were filled with despair as they resisted with all their might. However, the gap between them and Wang Xian was too great. Wang Xian could kill Eighth Order God Emperor realm experts in an instant. What could they use to resist? The river of time swept past quickly, and the tens of millions of people were drowned in it, leaving only corpses behind. All the experts from the two tribes were annihilated. Other than the patriarch of the Three Eyes tribe and an expert from the Four Arms tribe who escaped, the rest were all left behind. Murderers should have this kind of awareness. This was a war between races, and there was no right or wrong. Hiss, so strong. That young man is so strong. He actually annihilated two tribes by himself. This, at the same time, a dozen people who had been following behind the two tribes witnessed this scene, and their faces were filled with shock. That expert is an Eighth Order God Emperor realm expert, and there's a Seventh Order God Emperor realm shaman who set up the array in advance. The Three Eyes tribe and the Four Arms tribe are simply sending themselves to their death. An old man in the middle couldn't help but shout in a low voice. I didn't expect such a powerful expert to be hiding here. They said with slight trembling. Not good, that expert is looking in our direction. Run, run. All of a sudden, they felt a terrifying pair of eyes looking in their direction. Their faces were filled with fear. Even though they were Sixth Order God Emperor realm experts, they were still filled with fear when facing an expert who could annihilate two tribes. Without any hesitation, they fled back to their own divine nations. Wang Xian's gaze swept across the dozen of people, and there wasn't a single ripple in his eyes. Dragon King. Tianjin flew over at this time, and his eyes were filled with excitement. Keep these corpses, the harvest is not bad. A faint smile appeared on Wang Xian's face. Even though the two tribes had invaded the Dragon Palace many times in an attempt to annihilate it, they had also brought a huge amount of resources to the Dragon Palace. Just this time, there were over 20,000 God Emperor corpses, and there were tens of millions of Sixth Order God King realm and above. Such a huge amount of resources would definitely increase the strength of the Dragon Palace by a terrifying amount. Yes, Dragon King. After this battle, our Dragon Palace will be noticed by some forces in the center of the cosmos, Tianjin said. After absorbing the resources this time, the strength of our Dragon Palace will be considered strong among the tribes in the center of the cosmos. Wang Xian chuckled and said, with such strength, it shouldn't be a problem for them to protect themselves. Those forces that wanted to attack the Dragon Palace would have to consider if it was worth it. Moreover, they had yet to finish exploring the ruins of the Ink Han clan. Once they finished exploring, the Dragon Palace should be able to obtain another upgrade. Go back. Wang Xian was in a good mood, and he immediately returned to the Dragon Palace. Prime Minister Turtle, get all the members of the Dragon Palace ready to increase their strength. Wang Xian immediately passed down the order when he returned to the Dragon Palace. Dragon King, you have annihilated the two tribes. Prime Minister Turtle's eyes were burning with passion. Wang Xian nodded his head indifferently. Prepare to enter the center of the cosmos. Chapter 3008, Universe AI Dragon King, the advancement of all Dragon Palace members has been arranged. This is the information we got from the Ink Han tribe ruins. We also bought some Universe AI from them. In the Dragon King Palace, Prime Minister Turtle came to report after arranging for all Dragon Palace members to cultivate in the Dragon Transformation Pool. When Wang Xian brought Tianjin and Lai and the rest into the Ink Han tribe ruins, Prime Minister Turtle had already sent Mo Shaw and the rest to understand the center of the universe. The Universe AI was the communication tool of the center of the universe. It was also the mainstream communication tool of the center of the universe. It was released by the Universe AI group. The Universe AI was known as the safest communication tool. It had existed since a long time ago. It was rumored that it was made from an extremely powerful spiritual type treasure of unlocking the world's fortune. Rather than saying it was built, it could also be said that the experts of the universe were using the spirit type treasure. Wang Xian had also seen the description of the Universe AI in the treasure book of Ink Han Ghost Art. It was described that the core of the Universe AI was a spirit type treasure. People's consciousness could enter it. There was an endless space inside this treasure of unlocking the heavens' fortune. As a result, some experts began to study this endless space. Following that, communication were slowly developed, and they were put into a special medium. As time passed, more and more things were formed in this endless space. It had completely become a second universe. Here, one could do games, entertainment, and even cultivation. If a person entered the AI could sense the strength of the person's body. The body in the AI had the same physical strength. As for battle techniques and various nomological abilities, they could also be used in the AI. The intelligence system could even carry out battles, and there were countless experts inside. Once one was famous in the AI, it was equivalent to being famous in the universe. This was because the world of the AI was interconnected with reality. The powerful universe intelligent brain was recorded in that book as the most probable existence of all known treasures of creation and fortune. No one could obtain other people's information from the AI. Hence, the entire AI was very safe. Wang Xian had some understanding of the AI from the three-eyed and four-armed race experts. He took the AI from Prime Minister Turtle and sized it up. The AI was the size of a palm. There were patterns on it. With a thought, his consciousness entered it. Buzz. At the next moment, Wang Xian sensed that he was floating above a vast continent. The entire continent was incomparably huge. This continent was modeled after the Primeval continent at the center of the universe. There were all kinds of buildings on the continent, and countless living beings gathered there. With a thought, images appeared in front of Wang Xian. Just like a computer, he could understand any information. Among them, the most eye-catching place was a ranking of the universe's races. After he opened it, he realized that there were only mid-tier and below races in the universe. There wasn't even a high-tier race, much less a universe dominator race. Like the high-level races of the universe, the dominator-level races, they were no longer something normal people could discuss. Each and every one of them had gone through countless eons of tribulation. One had to know that a cataclysm would last for over 30 billion years. No one knew how deep their trump cards were, or how strong they were. How could they be ranked so casually? Wang Xian took a casual look and returned to reality with a shift of his mind. This universe smart brain is much stronger than the technological smart brain, Wang Xian exclaimed. Yes, Dragon King. Recently, Roving Sword has been entering the Universe Smart Brain to spar with various sword cultivators. Training in the Universe Smart Brain is no different from training in reality. It can even simulate various terrains and challenge various experts in the universe. This is also one of the reasons why the center of the universe is so powerful. Prime Minister Turtle said with a smile. Wang Xian nodded slightly. The Universe Smart Brain was indeed very useful for training in actual combat. However, in the Universe Smart Brain, if the person formed was shattered, it would cause some damage to the person's spirit. The damage wasn't serious, but the person wouldn't be able to enter the Universe Smart Brain within 10 years. It was best not to be shattered again within 100 years. Otherwise, the person wouldn't be able to form a body within 1,000 years. After annihilating the two major races, we should be completely exposed in the resplendent starry sky. Make some preparations to deal with external forces, and let all members be vigilant. In addition, tell Wind Divine Dragon and the other 8 not to go out for the time being. Let them cultivate in the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian instructed Prime Minister Turtle. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle nodded. Let's go, Enlai. Let's continue exploring the ruins of the Ink Han dynasty. Wang Xian called Enlai along. Together with the Heavenly Array, they continued exploring the continents of the Ink Han dynasty ruins. It's over, everything is over. At the same time, in the territory of the Three-Eyed Tribe not far away from the ruins of the Ink Han dynasty, the Three-Eyed Tribe leader was sitting on a throne in his divine kingdom weekly. He slowly stood up with a pale face and made a difficult decision. With a flash, he flew out. What? All the tribesmen who went out with you were annihilated? Soon, in the main hall of the Three-Eyed Tribe, dozens of elders and deacons in charge of the tribe looked at the leader in front of them in shock. Their bodies were trembling. They have an 8th Order God Emperor realm expert. The leader of the Three-Eyed Tribe leaned on the throne with a pale face. Inform the rest of the elite disciples of the Three-Eyed Tribe to gather with all their treasures and resources. We'll hide for the time being. Also, inform the rest of the tribesmen to hide and wait for the Three-Eyed Tribe to rebuild. The leader of the Three-Eyed Tribe announced helplessly and unwillingly. He had never imagined that this expedition, which he had thought would be a fortuitous opportunity, would be a complete annihilation. 80% of the experts in the tribe were annihilated. The Three-Eyed Tribe was finished. To prevent the Dragon Palace from coming for revenge, and to prevent the other tribes from knowing about this, they had to escape in advance. Otherwise, even if the experts from the Dragon Palace did not come, the surrounding tribes would come and take a bite out of the Three-Eyed Tribe's territory and blessed Grotto Heavens. Disband the tribe. The remaining tribesmen of the Three-Eyed Tribe trembled with bloodshot eyes. Once they were disbanded, it would be difficult to rebuild and restore their glory. In that case, they would become rootless trees and water without a source in the universe. The people from Dragon Palace actually killed all our experts. That Dragon Palace is so cruel. We want revenge. Revenge. An old man could not help but roar with hatred. How? An old man beside him held his head in despair. Leader, there's a chance for revenge. Not long ago, Emperor God Hong Tian announced the establishment of a territory tribe and recruited experts. If we, at this time, an old man raised his head and gritted his teeth. Hearing his words, everyone's heart skipped a beat. Even the leader of the Three-Eyed Tribe had a complicated expression on his face. Everyone understood what he meant. However, joining a force established by an expert meant that they would never have a chance to rise again. It meant that the Three-Eyed Tribe would disappear from the universe.